Just kidding. Now, before we get into any of this, I just want to say that I have absolutely no tangency whatsoever with the Warhammer universe. I've never played the game, I've never played the board game. I think I held a tank once for like 2 seconds, and that's about it. So I have absolutely no knowledge of who's who and what's happening in this universe. Therefore, for all the purists out there that are gonna whine that, oh, this symbol doesn't go here and this Legion banner doesn't go there, I don't care. I made the Space Marine because a lot of people have been asking for it, and I made it according to my own view. Also, there was very little reference on Chaos Marines on the internet for some reason. People don't really seem to have a lot of concept art. I'm sure there's a book somewhere. I heard there was one, but I couldn't find it on any torrent or anything, so I just basically compiled a group of images, a collage of small thumbnail images, and maybe one big one that I found of what these guys are supposed to look like, and sort of assembled my own view on what it looks like. Now, I spent about an hour and a bit on the sketch, on the initial sketch, because there's just, I mean, the Chaos Marines look great, no doubt about it, but there's just so much freaking detail on them. It's absolutely insane, and I've never drawn one of them and never even looked at one of them before today when I made the video. So I was absolutely driven to insanity due to the amount of detail that I had to draw on this guy. There's like tubes and tubes again, tubes and skulls and a lot of metal parts. So it was, I admit it was fun to draw, but it took me 4.5 hours to draw the entire thing, and towards the end I was just getting so sick of it. I should have taken my own advice to take a longer break, but I said, well, if I'm halfway done with it, why not finish it? So it might not look as good as I wanted it to, but it's still, I think it's okay for a first. I'm probably gonna draw more of these because they're really fascinating characters. Like they appeal to me a lot with the whole gruesome skulls and the mix of medieval and high tech. It's nice. They remind me of Protoss in some way. But yeah, the sketch was definitely a pain, and I was looking at 10 images at the same time, trying to figure out what I want from them on my picture and what I don't. I used the biggest reference image I could find for the initial pose, just to see like how the armor parts combine with each other and all that. And it was there was a lot of erasing here because I couldn't get the perspective right on some things, and I went with it towards the end on some parts. Like a lot of these metal parts have edges, and they have nuts and bolts holding them to the armor, so I have to draw each and every one of them, and also each and every one of them will have a core shadow and a cast shadow and the texture from the metal. So I was absolutely, like, my eyes were hurting so much by the time I was done with this, and my hand, not to mention, because each little bolt and each little spike had to have a shadow of its own, 2 shadows of its own. But yeah, it was really fun to draw. I think I can't really complain. I chose that type of helmet because it seemed like the one that, well, in the images I found, there was several types of heads. One was like a monster head with horns. One guy was undead. Again, I have no idea what they're called and what legion they belong to or whatever, what clan. So there was one guy that was undead, and this guy that had sort of a Darth Vader slash Viking helmet mix, and I kind of like this one. So I didn't pick the original head, I picked my own rendition of it. So I'm just starting to detail the helmet. I decided to go with what I was most uncertain about, that being the helmet, and I spent a lot of time. I always manage to spend a lot of time on the first element I start to detail for some reason. It's more of a warm-up, and I'm just trying to get a feel of how the entire character was going to be shaded, because I don't like have a technique for shading everything equally. I do one piece and then I do the rest of the character to match the initial piece. So the helmet turned out okay, and I decided to just go with it and see how it turns out. Now, I don't know if you noticed or not, but this character has at the end a total of about 15 or 16 skulls. And I'm all for drawing skulls, but I was getting sick of it. So the last skulls that I'll draw later don't look as good as the first ones. And yes, I realize this is a whole bunch of excuses, but I'm still sick, and I did this just before bed yesterday or today because I sleep during the day. So I wasn't in tip-top shape for it, but overall I think it did turn out pretty good for the idea I had. A lot of people have asked for a Space Marine, and I usually avoid doing something that I haven't drawn before ever, or that I have no knowledge about. You know, at least with Zerg, it's my favorite race, and I know a lot about him. I played Brood War and all StarCraft 1 and all that stuff, so Zerg, I'm very familiar with them. But the Warhammer universe is just absolutely unknown to me. Like my friend tried to explain me like who belongs to who, and what the whole deal is with the Emperor, and I was just like, what? Why make it so complicated? Because the StarCraft universe in comparison is like for kids, you know, it's so simple and everything is straightforward. But with these guys, you got these legions, and you got the symbols and the skulls and the undeads and Nurgle and the Emperor, and it's like, why? Who are these people? So I improvised a lot on this character because I saw like a common theme in the Chaos Knight, the Marines, not Knights, is the symbol. The symbol that's on his chest behind the skull, as you can see there, that's the actual symbol of Chaos. If you didn't know, it's basically two crosses at a 45 angle to each other. So it exists in reality, in case you didn't know. Now, the main problem I had with this character overall was trying to get more of a 3D feel on the little parts and spikes coming out of his armor. For example, the skulls. I'm okay at drawing skulls, but I'm not that good at drawing skulls when they're placed on a flat surface, and even more so on a curved surface, because you have to remember that, for example, on his shoulder, the skull looks more 2D than I want it to. You know, I wanted to go for a whole sort of a Lich King feel, like the skull is coming out of the armor and is like an embossed effect, you know. And that's why I'm avoiding to draw the Lich King right now, because I need a lot more practice on drawing armor before I take on the Lich King. Like, the Lich King has some seriously intricate freaking armor, and I don't want it to turn out bad. If I'm gonna draw a character like that, I want it to be really good. Because there's not a lot of drawings, not a lot of good drawings of the Lich King on the internet. It's just a couple from what I've seen. So yeah, I'm just doing the spikes and the skulls and whatnot. Now, you might not see it there, but the right side skull is, I wasn't sure how exactly the spikes came out of its head, because I took that from the reference image. But the reference image is also very dark, so I wasn't sure if those were two parts or one part, or if the skull had the spikes in it, or if the spikes were different. So I just kind of made it one piece. The glove on his left glove was really fun to draw, however, because I just went crazy with like little wires and tubes and mechanisms and wheels, and it's just, I have the most fun when I have the freedom to do my own thing without, like, if I'm given a general shape and then allowed to do whatever I want, then that's the pleasure of drawing for me. Now, in drawing the little, I guess, air holes in his glove, one key thing to remember if you ever tackle something like that is that if the light shines from a certain direction, one of the edges will be illuminated. So if you have the metal slit, let's say the light shines from the left side, then the left edge will be dark, and the right edge right next to the metal slit will be light, and that gives it a 3D metal effect. One thing that I really tried to do here is I tried to cast a shadow of every single element that was not flat, just to try and give it a more of a 3D sense. Because usually when I draw, I don't cast every single shadow that there is, but with a character like this that is so detailed and so crazy intricate, it's good to cover some of those details with a cast shadow once in a while, because it just gets, like I mentioned in the Overlord video, it just gets way too cluttered if you have that many details overlapping. Because at some point, you know, I couldn't see clear edges anymore. Everything was just, and that's partly because I'm doing this in pencil. If I was doing it in pen, then I would, and if I was doing it on paper, then I would have an easier time, because paper takes pencil a bit better than vellum, but I like the overall feel of the vellum more. So as you can see there, I'm casting the shadow of the weapon on the leg just to make the viewer know for sure that there's a certain distance between the hand and the leg, that they're not like overlapping each other. Now I'm pretty sure that the eye symbol is not supposed to be on a character like this, on a Chaos Knight. I'm not sure, but I'm just saying from what I've seen, it wasn't on Chaos Knights, it was on something else. But on Chaos Marines, why do I keep calling them Chaos Knights? I'm too used to the Blizzard thing. I think that was a character in Dota, wasn't it? Or something. Maybe. I'm just detailing the legs and the knees. I went crazy with the spikes here because I was just getting so tired of drawing metal rods and metal rims that I went for an element that always looks good, which is spikes. You can never get enough spikes on armor. I should just stop being a lazy fuck and get one of those reference books on how to draw armor. I think my dad had one, but it got misplaced or something. It had like every single piece of armor from every civilization, and it was drawn in different angles, and you could see the detail perfectly. So that would have came in very useful in drawing a character like this, and also maybe for the Marauder. But yeah, these are the skulls I was talking about. I didn't bother detailing them as much because on one hand they were in the back, and secondly this was 4.5 hours later of continual drawing, and I was just absolutely exhausted. But yeah, I hope you liked the video, and again, for all the hardcore Warhammer fans out there, don't give me crap about how faithful it is to the original image, because it really doesn't matter. It's a fantasy creature, and I can draw it however I want to. So anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.